stand up and say, my name is Susan. I'm a vicar's wife and an alcoholic. And then I tell my story, a part of it anyway. Don't pull any punches, says Clem, my counsellor. Nobody's going to be shocked. Believe me, love, we've all been there. But I don't tell them about Mr. Ramesh, because they've not been there. Listen, people, I was so drunk I used to go and sleep with an Asian grocer. Yes, and you won't believe this. I loved it. Loved every minute. Dear, oh dear, this was a real drunken lady. So I draw a veil over Mr. Ramesh, who once on the feast of St. Simon and St. Jude, choral evensong at 6, daily services at the customary hour, put makeup on his eyes and bells on his ankles, and naked except for his little belt, danced in the back room of the shop with a tambourine. So how did you come to AA, they ask. It was my husband, I say, the vicar, he persuaded me. But I lie. It was not my husband. It was Mr. Ramesh, the exquisitely delicate and polite Mr. Ramesh, who one Sunday night turned his troubled face towards me with its struggling moustache, and asked if he might take the bull by the horns, and inquire if intoxication was a prerequisite for sexual intercourse, or whether it was only when I was going to bed with him. The beautiful Mr. Ramesh, 26 with lovely legs. Whether it was only with him that I had to be inebriated. And was it, asked this slim, flawless, untroubled creature, was it perhaps his colour? Because if not, he would like to float the suggestion that sober might be even nicer. So the credit for the road to Damascus goes to Mr. Ramesh, whose first name turns out also to be Ramesh. Ramesh, a member of the Community Council and Leeds Federation of Trade. But none of this I say. In fact, I never say anything at all. Only when it becomes plain to Geoffrey, and it takes all of 3 weeks, that Mrs. Vicar is finally on the wagon. Who is it gets the credit? Not one of Mr. Ramesh's jolly little gods, busy doing everything under the sun to one another, much like Mr. Ramesh. Oh no, it's full marks for Geoffrey's chum, the deity, moving in his well-known mysterious way. So now everything has changed. For the moment I am a new woman, and Geoffrey is a new man, and he brings it up on the slightest pretext. My wife's an alcoholic, you know. Oh yes, it's a great challenge to me, and to the parish's extended family. From being a fly in the ointment, I find myself transformed into a feather in his cap. Included it in his sermon and prayers answered, when he reveals that he and the fan club have been having these jolly get-togethers in which they'd all prayed over what he calls my problem. It practically set me racing back to the Tia Pepe, even to think of it. The fans, of course, never dreaming that their prayers would be answered, are furious. They think it's brought us closer together, and Geoffrey thinks that too. We were at some doleful diocesan jamboree last week, and I'm stuck there clutching my grapefruit juice, while Geoffrey tells the tale to some bearded cleric. Suddenly he seizes my hand. We met it with love, he says, as if love were some sort of all-purpose antibiotic, which to Geoffrey it probably is. And it goes on, the mileage in it endless. I said to Geoffrey that when I stood up at AA, I sometimes told the story about the flower arrangement. Result? He starts telling it all over the diocese. The first time was at a conference on the support of parish. Gales of deep, liberated, caring laughter. He's given it a new twist now, and tells the story as if it's about a parishioner. Then at the end he says, friends, I want to tell you something. Deep hush. That drunken flower arranger was my wife. Silence. Then the applause. Terrific. I've got the other young, upwardly mobile parson sneaking looks at me every now and again, and you can just see them thinking, why weren't they smart enough to marry an alcoholic? Or better still, a drug addict. Problem wives, on whom they could do nice redemption jobs on, right there on their own doorstep. Because there's no stopping Geoffrey now. He grips my hand in public, nay, brandishes it. We're a team, he cries. Looks set to be rural dean. And that's only the beginning, as the bishop says. Just the kind of man we're looking for on the bench. Someone with a seasoned compassion. Someone who's looked life in the face. Someone who's been there. Mr. Ramesh sold his shop. He's gone back to India to fetch his wife. She's old enough now, apparently. I went round there on Sunday. There was a boy writing under new management on the window. Spelled wrong. And something underneath in Hindi, spelled right, probably. He said he thought Mr. Ramesh would be getting a new shop soon, only in Preston. They do that, of course, Asians. Get something going nicely, build it up, and then take the profit and move on. It's a good thing, really. We ought to be more like that, more enterprising. My group meets twice a week, and I go religiously, which is what it is, of course. The names are different, Frankie and Steve, Susie and Clem. But really it's Miss Frobisher and Mrs. Shrubsole all over again. I never liked going to one church, so I ended up going to two. Geoffrey would call that the wonderful mystery of God. I call it bad taste, and I wouldn't do it to a dog. That's the thing that nobody ever says about God. He has no taste at all.